about a couple dollars and a jacket that I'm going to wear. And so the next morning, as Joshua called them together, he brought all of the tribes together, and then one by one, God told them who to dismiss and who not to. And finally, there was this one man, Achan, standing there. And Joshua said to Achan, he said, "My son, give glory to the Lord, the God of Israel, and give him the praise. Tell me what you have done. Do not hide it from me." Achan replied, "It is true. I have sinned against God. This is what I have done. When I saw the plunder, a beautiful robe from Babylon, 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold, I coveted them, and then I took them. They are hidden in the ground inside of my tent." And I have to think about Achan when he was in Jericho and he was mesmerized so many times, like we are with so many things in our lives. It looks good. These little sins that we have in our lives, these little sins that we say it's not really a bad thing, it's not really a big deal, say, that really won't matter. And the Bible says that he looked at them, he coveted them, and then he took them. And can you imagine, after that happened, took them back, and then I have to think they asked himself a question: what am I going to do with this? It's not like he can go down to the market and say, "I'd like to buy this, this, and this," and he pulls out this wedge of gold. It's like, well, where'd you get that from? Maybe a relative died, got it willed to me. I found it on the side of the road. Somebody must have dropped it. Or this beautiful Babylonian jacket that he could wear. I mean, they were in the desert for 40 years. They just come across. They didn't have anything other than what they had gotten in the desert. They didn't have any material possessions to speak of. Do you think he could really wear it? What he did, it's the same thing that we do. Yet once you move into that sin, that little sin that we don't think makes any difference, we come to that place where we say, well, I can't really talk about it. I can't really share. I can't really get rid of it. I can't really tell anybody about it. So then we go and hide it, just like Achan did. You know, I remember back when I was in high school, I was constantly in trouble. All right? I have always been a rebellious person. Tell me what the rules are, and it carries on to my life now. Tell me what the laws are, and I'm going to try to find a way to distort, twist, move around it, to exercise it to my advantage. But especially in high school, I can remember I was down in the principal's office every week. Never a week passed by. It was just like I had a seat that was designated Stephen's chair right here. Because I was always doing something, always in trouble for something. But I remember the walk. Every time I'd walk, I was thinking in my mind, what do they know? All right. It wasn't a question of whether or not I was wrong. It was a question of what did they know that I did wrong? And so as I sat there, the principal would start opening up, and I was just waiting. All right, you show me your cards. You tell me what I did wrong. And it's like, oh, you were late for 10 days straight in a row. Yep, that was me. I'm sorry. I'll try to do a better job. But I knew there was other stuff. I knew there was stuff that I had hiding in my tent, that I wasn't going to just come out and spill it out. I mean, they were small things, but there was no reason to give him any more ammunition than what he already had. So today, for us, the questions come down to, for us, Steve Collins talked this last week, and he talked about confession, and we've been talking about that for the longest time. But in so many ways, I think that we look at the confession as those big sins. All right, the adultery, the deep-seated problems that we have in our lives that we've been carrying, and all the burdens that we've been carrying, the cheating on the taxes. All right, some of us think that's big, some of us don't. All right, depends on where you are in that whole thing. And we take those big sins and we say, okay, I'll confess that. That's what's holding me back. But God has moved in me this week and made me realize that it's not what we characterize as the big sins. It's those little things. So, question is, what's in your tent? Some of the things that I thought we needed to talk about today, some of those things that we hide, this is one that God's been really working on me. Selfishness. Are you aware that selfishness is a sin? Even though at some point in time I come to that place where I think I'm not being selfish. I'm thinking about other people. If I look behind my actions, I'm being selfish because I'm still finding a way to manipulate around so that it benefits me. And God has really dealt with me this week, especially with my wife, and the things that I say and the things that I do, and realizing that I've got a lot of work still left inside of me. But for the most part, I don't think of selfishness as a sin. For the most part, I think it's just a part of me. Ungrateful and unthankfulness. You realize I sat yesterday, and this hit me yesterday. I sat yesterday, I had a 3 o'clock appointment at a mobile home park with a man and a wife. The wife has MS. And she can't get out of the lounger chair. She is alive only because of a breathing apparatus that goes around her head. We talked about bankruptcy. We talked about life. And I asked her, I said, so what happens, how long are you expected to live? She says, if the electricity goes off, I'll be dead in 15 seconds. And she had a 16-year-old daughter in the trailer, an old rundown mobile home. And I sat there, and my heart broke for them. And I thought in the middle of that, this is not about them. This is really about what God's doing inside of me. And I sat there. I ended up walking out of there, and I said, I will do your bankruptcy for free. Let me help you. Let me do this for you. And God stirred those things inside of me that just tore me up inside. And I thought, how can I be so ungrateful and unthankful? And I realized that's what He's trying to teach me. Pride. Pride, it rears its head in a lot of different ways. It looks different for all of us. And I'm not going to go through a story on each one of these, but this has always been my biggest obstacle. Pride. It's all about me. Everything is about how I look and how I look to other people. So, pride. Insults, gossip, unkind words, and lies. Think about your life. These are the small things that we'd readily discount